Hello, I'm Dave Hill. I'm the founder, publisher, and editor of the journalism website onlondon.co.uk. My guest today is Hina Bokhari. Hina is a Liberal Democrat member of the London Assembly, and she currently chairs its Economy Committee. She is also a councillor in Merton, representing West Barnes Ward. Now, I was in Hina's company a few days ago as a fellow panellist at a London Council's event at the Liberal Democrats conference in Bournemouth. And the title of that event was this: Capital Punishment. How can we get national government to love London again? It's a big question which shouldn't really need asking. Hina, welcome. As a Liberal Democrat politician, what is your answer to that question?
Well, as you know, I was very disappointed with Labour and the way they are letting down London. I was saying to the audience in that room that it wasn't just the government that's been letting down London. It has been the Labour Party. We were promised a realignment when the Mayor of London said that a Labour government was going to make his life easier as a mayor of London, and that hasn't really been the case. We saw Rachel Reeves' spending review hardly mention London. We haven't seen the mayor of London push the prime minister on many areas. I mean, one of the main questions I asked the mayor of London was whether he still supported scrapping the two-child benefit cap. And despite the fact that he had written to the previous Tory government, he refused to do the same for the Labour government. So I can't see the realignment anywhere. And my disappointment really has been that the Mayor of London has to be the person who speaks up for London, but he seems to be hampered by the fact that he's a Labour mayor. And because we have a Labour government, he is no longer able to fight for London in the way that I was hoping he would. And so there's been a lot of disappointment recently because of the Labour government, and the cuts that we've seen with police front counters is another example. We've got a threat now that police stations will potentially close because of these cuts. And this was a promise that he made in his manifesto that this would not be the case.
Mm-hmm.
It's another broken promise from the mayor.
I suppose, though, if you're the Labour mayor and they're the Labour government, you said, I think, inhibited. Did you use the word inhibited? Something similar to that. I mean, you would be a bit, wouldn't you? Because if you go around slagging them off all the time, they're probably going to take umbrage and be not as nice to you as they might otherwise have been. So he's got to sort of be a little bit politic, hasn't he? I mean, he did speak up after there was no funding for the DLR extension to
Yeah,
Thamesmead, for example. You alluded or you mentioned
yeah, I did
Rachel
mention that.
Reeves's
Mm.
rather, I agree with you, rather disappointing speech. So he did speak up about that. So to be fair, it's a little bit more difficult for him being, as it were, on the same side as it is for you, um, you know,
Oh yeah, yeah.
criticising from the
I mean,
outside.
my job is to scrutinise the mayor, and I have to hold him to account to in the points that the promises he's makes. So if he makes a promise to London, particularly in a manifesto, particularly during an election time,
Mm.
we need to make sure that he keeps to his promises. So it's quite a simple job for me, isn't it? Really, I can understand your perspective in this, and it's a lot more complicated for the mayor of London.
Mm.
But that's my job. That
But
is
if
my job.
so, let's pretend that there is a Liberal Democrat national government now.
Hmm.
Do you think that they would be a bit more positive towards London than the current Labour national government is?
Yeah, I think they probably would be. We have, I mean, there is the fact that we have got a leader of our own party. He's a London MP, so he already has a very good understanding of London politics and what we need to do in London.
I
But
mind
we
you, the
don't just, so,
Prime Minister's a London MP as well, isn't
yes, yes, yeah.
he? But I
But
take
I
your
mean,
point. I take your point.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, our MPs also are in the outer parts of London as well. I think that a lot of people would say that inner London gets more of a focus. We would definitely widen the scope and make sure that even outer London has a voice. I know that you're well aware of the fact that in Sutton we now have two MPs, Liberal Democrat MPs. We've been running the council for over 30 years. We have, a trusted reputation, in particularly in outer London. But with that, we also know that a lot of people within those areas are very frustrated about the fact that there is a lack of transport infrastructure in those
Sure.
areas.
Okay. So
So
you
we would
think,
definitely be fighting for that.
all right. So you think of if in your ideal world where we have Prime Minister Sir Edward Davey, London would get a better deal than it is under the Labour government, and outer London's particular
Yeah. I mean,
requirements
we,
would
we
be.
would have scrapped the two-child benefit cap, wouldn't we? We would have done that.
Don't ask me. I'm not one of
Yeah.
you. You'd have done that. Okay. All
And
right.
also, I think we would have fixed the issues that we've been, hearing about in terms of immigration with the asylum system. We've always fought to lift the ban on asylum seekers working. I mean, that's been something that has been one of our core principles, something that we know will actually ease the burden that we're seeing, in terms of hotels, etc. I think there are so many policies that come across, to some as being maybe woke, but actually these liberal values are actually things that are going to fix the economy in the end.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So I had a sort of general question, which you've kind of answered already, which was, where does London fit into the sort of big picture, the big Lib Dem vision picture, as articulated really by your leader in his speech? So is that uh, let's use the
Yeah.
small L, a more liberal approach that would characterise such a government, would it? And
Yes.
how would that
Yes.
affect London? Do you think,
Well, so
specifically?
if we think of London, as the diverse and inclusive city that we know it is, the message coming very loud and clear from our party, from that stage, from Ed's speech at the end of conference, was that we were the antidote to Farage, that we don't want to be Trump's America and Farage's Britain. And I think that London, and particularly liberal London, are totally against what Farage is trying to do and what Trump represents. It doesn't represent the values of what we know London to be, which is that inclusive and diversity, and welcoming. And there are people who are looking for an alternative. And in London, they are looking right now because, unfortunately, a lot of people are feeling politically homeless. And that is because they've been disillusioned by the Labour government. I think a lot of people who voted for Labour were hoping for a Labour government that were true to its values, and that has not been the case for many people who voted Labour, particularly in London. And the Conservative government have already been dipping, in terms of how London voters have been perceiving what a Conservative government would look like. They've
Okay,
been
yeah.
let down, and they want to have an alternative. And I think our message was very clear: you don't like Farage, you can vote for us.
Okay, right. Now, that's quite a nice little cue into looking ahead to May and the borough
Mm.
elections, which is something that we talked about on the London Council's panel. And uh, so let me ask you, as you look ahead to May, as I imagine you are now, and your colleagues are, and you look at the sort of interesting, fragmenting political landscape of the capital, and it's fragmenting in all kinds of interesting
Mm.
ways. And if you look at recent by-elections, which, as you know, on London covers them all, with thanks to the brilliant Lewis Baston in quite a lot of detail, trying to figure out what each result means. So, where do you think? How confident are you about picking up quite a lot of additional seats next May? And where do you think you might pick them up? And really, most crucial question, why do you think you might pick them up?
Yeah, so I'm really lucky to be part of a fantastic group of councillors in Merton. In 2018, I was elected, and we went from 1 to 6 that year. And then the following election, we're now 17. Um, we are very hopeful that we'll be taking control of that council.
Okay, right.
Now, Merton Council currently is Labour run, and it's always been between Labour and the Conservatives. So this will be a breakthrough. But we have just won our very first Liberal Democrat MP in Wimbledon. So we are on our way. The Tories are incredibly nervous of being wiped out by us. I think
Mm.
that is definitely the way things are looking. But it's not just the Conservatives. The Labour group are also very anxious about what could happen in their seats as well. And the interesting dynamic with the Labour group in Merton, and this is not just in Merton, but in other places in London, um, Reform are doing interestingly well in certain areas. Now that it gives us an interesting uh, opportunity, perhaps. Where did those votes go? Well, and where do they come from more likely? So a lot of those reform votes in seats in Merton may actually be coming from the Labour
Okay.
voters.
Hmm.
And I think that's what we're picking up on the door. And what we are also picking up at the door are that the Liberal Democrat voters are sticking with the Liberal Democrats. There's been no movement there, but we are getting Conservatives coming to us, and we have got a bit of work to do with the Labour voters and maybe people who might have voted Green. We might need to have more conversations on the doors and get them, because I think it's a harder move, going from that to us. But there are potential seats even in the Labour areas for us. Camden by-election was fascinating.
Yes. Yeah.
It
Let me just remind the audience about that one. That was a couple of weeks ago, and it was in West Hampstead ward. Clue in title there, maybe, if you're being very, very cynical. But the
are you
that
are you talking about some champagne socialists that
no,
live
no, no,
round
no,
there? Is
no,
that
no,
what
no,
you
no.
mean?
People with mustard-coloured ties, who care about the bomb and things like that. One for older listeners and viewers, that one. But so Labour, I know, put a lot of effort into defending
Yes,
that
they
seat.
did. They
The
really
Li- the
did.
Lib Dems put a lot of effort in as well, and Lewis Baston, who I mentioned just now, described it as a landslide win for the Lib Dems.
Yeah,
So, are
absolutely.
you one of the? So, this is so interesting because you've already touched upon this. So, votes seem to be moving in all kinds of directions,
Hmm.
um, and you can. It's easy to see why there might be uh, people who perhaps have lent towards the Conservatives and are not very happy with the sort of Reform Tribute Act that the Conservative Party seems to have become and might be attracted to you. But there are also, if we look at that result in Camden, surely that tells us that there are
Yeah,
Labour people who are looking
yeah,
to the Lib Dems as an alternative. So
yes.
it's kind of, does that make it a bit complicated for you? I mean, do
It,
you?
yeah, I mean, nothing's easy for us as Lib Dems. We've always got to think about each campaign on a local level. Janet, who was the candidate, was a well-known local champion. As you know, Lib Dems love their local champions, so we will always try to put the best candidates in position to win, and I think that will always help. Um, and we've also got to be careful that we're targeting, that we've got the resources, that we can win we can win those seats. We've got to be logical I think, in terms of where we go with our campaigning. We know that we're going to do well in certain areas like Southwark, for example, Southwark, where we were second place in the general election. There's definitely some scope for us there. Haringey, Islington, there are places that are looking more hopeful for the Liberal Democrats, and also you need to think back to the history of the Lib Dems. We used to run a lot more councils than we do currently. We're running three at the moment, but in the past we did run Islington, for example. We were very close to running Waltham Forest at one point as well, before the coalition, and things are looking quite interesting in Waltham Forest at the moment for us too. So there are pockets everywhere that we are looking at in terms of how we gain our seats. But if you think about it, we are the second largest party in terms of controlled councils. We've got a reputation of doing really well when we are running councils, and people know that.
Okay, all right. Well, we're looking forward to those. I mean, predicting borough elections, I think, is a bit of a mug's game at the best of time. But looking ahead to next year, oh, makes your head spin just thinking
Yeah,
about
but
it.
I'm so excited. I can't tell you. It's really, really
Okay, we
exciting.
have that on the record. There's no rowing back from that now. Okay, so let's lower the tone for a moment and talk about
Oh
Donald.
dear.
You know what's coming. Let's talk about
Yeah.
Donald Trump, who
Mm,
his latest insult to Sadiq Khan. I
yeah.
wonder if Sadiq really minds all that much because I think he quite likes a bit of a
I know what you
punch up.
mean.
He quite likes a bit
Yeah.
of a punch up, Sadiq.
It doesn't
Um,
do any harm to his cred, does it?
well, there is that. Um, but also, this remark about how apparently we're all going to London is going to go turn over to Sharia law.
Oh, I
Apparently,
know. What a load
yes.
of rubbish.
So you, rather strikingly, I think, as a member of a different political party from the mayor, um, took to social media and went on the BBC and
Hmm.
responded to what Trump
Yeah.
had said. So just
Yeah.
just tell
Yeah.
our listeners and viewers what you said.
Well, I think this is incredibly worrying. This is the American president being quite explicitly racist, and he is using this to attack the Mayor of London, but also London itself. London has always been diverse and inclusive and promotes equality for all. And quite frankly, none of it was true. It was actually quite dangerous as well. Um, there are kind of real life consequences to the American president using such slurs towards the mayor of London. And I think he's absolutely right to call out the Islamophobia. It's a very worrying situation, actually. I mean, in all seriousness, because we are seeing rising hate crime in London, particularly for the Muslim community. Today, I read a news article in the BBC of a lady saying that she was on the Elizabeth line and there were a group of young people openly calling her, I'm going to use the word, it was Paki. And instead of getting support that she thought she might do from other passengers, there was a different reaction. And I think that's really scary, that people are being so openly racist. And this normalization of racism that has now started to develop, which it reminds me of the times when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s and seeing NF signs, and I had a conversation with my mum about, what does NF mean? And I'm now having the similar conversations with my children.
Well, it's extraordinary that you should say that because I am old enough to remember a London where you did see the initials NF
Mm,
scrawled on
yeah.
bus stops, and you had actual serious NF presences in the East End of London, for example, in the 1970s. And I've had similar conversations with my own grown-up children saying,
Mm,
just what's happening now is not very nice, and if you don't have to go back all that far in London history to discover when it was really, really horrible.
mm,
And I said, am beginning to get a little nasty sense of us
mm,
moving back in that direction. And so
mm,
I am absolutely with you on
mm.
that, of
It
course.
is scary. I mean, my local mosque was covered in, there were red crosses. So I suppose they were trying to make them look like St. George's flag, but then they had a slightly elongated middle cross, so it looked a bit like a crucifix, and they were put all over the mosque, all over the walls, all over the whole building, and it frightens me. It really does frighten me. It frightens my children. It makes us feel, it questions how safe we are. And I did never wanted my children to ever go through that. They're very they're very aware of what's happening, but they also have a mum who's a brown Pakistani Muslim woman, but a dad who's a white English man as well. So they know that diversity work. They know that people can love each other from different backgrounds and races. Um, So it's confusing for them as well. They don't understand why this is happening.
Well, that is really, truly a kind of shocking story you've just told us. And, you know, I'm sort of lost for words, really. But thanks for sharing that story with us. It is important that these things are reported and recognised as going on. Oh dear, how can I cheer us up? I
Oh,
probably can't, but I would. I
let's
did. I
try.
know. So I did. A very. It was rather a sweet moment. I think when you first became a member of the London Assembly, and I am I remembering this right? But I think you
Yeah.
revealed to the Labour mayor that your dad used to teach him.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us a little bit
Well, I
about
didn't
that?
reveal it. He knew.
Yeah. Well, okay. All right. He revealed it to him. He revealed it to everybody
To the
else.
world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My dad, Naz Bokhari, was the first Muslim head teacher in Britain. And that was in the school that Mr. Khan went to,
Okay.
Ernest Bevan,
Yeah.
in Tooting.
Mm-hmm.
And when my dad walked into that hall, all the boys looked around going, who's this guy? Um, and they couldn't believe that somebody looking like my dad was going to be their head teacher. It was absolutely mind blowing for these young men who were not used to anyone other than white teachers in their school. And I think it actually opened up Sadiq's mind in terms of this is potential for any of us. If someone like that could become a head teacher, then I could do something as well that isn't just beyond the stereotypical perceptions of what my future can be. And my dad was a real role model to him. He became a mentor to him. I remember my dad on the phone to him for hours on end about what he wanted to do in his next steps in his career. And when he wanted to be a councillor, he rang up my dad, asking my dad for some support and help. And back in the day, my dad was actually called Mr. Tooting.
All right.
He would walk around Tooting and people go, all right, Mr. Tooting, because he was just so well known and respected in the area. And having my dad's support, I think, was a real boost for him when he started off in his early days in politics.
Okay, well, thanks very
So,
much for sharing that story with us, Hina. A wonderful piece of really important London history, and we need to embrace those strands of history all the more tightly and value them all the more, as so many of the good things, as you have said about the city, are coming under attack from ignorant, monstrous, terrible people.
mm,
Um, we could be here all day, but I'm going to
yeah.
bring it to an end now, and thank you very much indeed for joining me.
No, I've had a lovely time, and let's remember there's a lot of hope as well in the future. It's not all doom and gloom, and there's a lot of people out there who want the best for our next generation, and we'll keep on fighting for that.
Excellent. What a fantastic note to end. And thank you very much indeed, Hina Bokhari. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.